Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Cosmic Ascension Waves of Light, or the CAWL, which some of your ears will prick up there with the CAWL, which is um, kind of reference to not necessarily Dolores Cannon's work, but the call that was put out into the universe. So, welcome, everyone. Today's date is the 3rd of February 2026, and it's 9:13 p.m. here in Ireland. I am Soma ARah, and I'm joined by my friend Michael Feeley this evening. And we haven't connected for a while, but I'm really delighted to be here with Michael, who is just has a wealth of information that I believe often comes intuitively to him. I feel he's very guided. He also used to be a policeman in the UK. Michael, please, would you will do a much better job at introducing yourself.
Well, thank you. I'm Michael Feeley. I grew up on a housing estate in the Midlands in the UK. Uh, just a standard upbringing. My teachers at school were referring to me as a substandard child because I never really got involved in the class. I never kind of fitted into the world. I spent as much time as I could in the solitude of my bedroom, just gazing out of the window and having all of these adult thoughts really and adult questions. And when I decided what I wanted to do for a career, it took me quite a while to get in. But I signed up for 30 years as a police officer in the UK, and I was always on the front line. I was always responding to emergencies and non-emergencies. There was many other different departments that were really, really trying very desperately and hard to get me to join them, but I never wanted to because I always wanted to be on the front line where things were happening, where I could make a difference. And that really, for me, was not a cliche. It was what I wanted to do. I never expected to leave. I never expected to have those thoughts enter my mind. As I say, I joined for 30 years, and it's not a career that you leave. It's a career that you retire from rather than leave. And year 17, there was a lot of strange otherworldly things that began to happen. And they were so frequent and deep and amazing that I kind of began to question and was never the same person again. And I could never be the same person again because I was seeing all of these things literally on a daily and nightly basis. And that would include UFOs, portals, UFOs coming out of portals, being involved in landings, being involved in face-to-face meetings, being involved in remote viewing conscious time travel, and all of these different things that were happening to me literally every day. So you can never not see what you've seen. You can never know or know what you know. And with a disillusionment that was beginning to set in around about that time, I kind of made the decision that I can't be there anymore. I can't be in this environment anymore. There's other things that I need to do. And I really had nothing else to go into because at this time, which was 2009, the world was in a global recession. And people were actually losing their jobs. They were losing their houses. And I was actually voluntarily leaving a secure job. So, it kind of raised a few eyebrows, should we say, amongst immediate family and friends as to what on earth I was doing. But I just had to trust. I just had to trust that I just needed to do what I did. And even though I had nothing to go into, I just had this trust. So from that point, really, it was a continuation of experiencing. It was then a continuation of then understanding what I was experiencing with science and quantum physics and actually seeing this advanced technology that we often speak of in UFO communities. And then it became, I became aware that I'd been dealing with scientists who were once incarnated on Earth. And unbeknownst to me, I've been working with them all my life. And those three scientists were Nikola Tesla, Sir Isaac Newton, and Leonardo da Vinci. And I didn't realize I'd actually been working with them. And now I realize it, and now I'm ready for them. They kind of come back, and the information that they're giving me is remarkable. And that really has
So,
continued from that point.
so that's one of my questions for you, Michael. So I, I don't know. I don't even know why I'm saying I don't know, but there's so many of the likes of us that are public figures, and we do this work, that are doing this work, and we all seem to have these experiences behind the scenes that have been going on for a long time and continue. Um, and I think one of our first interviews was in 2019 or 2020 with Sandra Ingerman. Am I, yeah, Ingerman, who is a beautiful soul and a spirit artist, or she is a psychic artist or a
Yes.
spirit artist. And we during that interview, it came up that you have a connection to Leonardo da Vinci that you just mentioned. But can you bring me up to date and also the audience on what has happened with your connection and your behind the scenes kind of experiences with Sandra and Leonardo? Because I know that you've had a lot more experiences with him, and that you've been that information's been given to you about your, I think, past lives connection. Um, have you and also have you had any dreams of him?
Well, the story is that he connected in that way when we both co-hosted a podcast all that time ago, and he came through Sandy because, as I say, she's a spiritual artist, and he actually draws through her hands. Leonardo draws through Sandy's hands, so they'd already had that connection. But he came through, and to cut a very very long story short, I became aware that I was once Salai, who was his personal scribe in medieval times. And, I vividly remember many things, going on starships. Even now, I'll be sitting in on this desk, sitting here, and I'll be writing notes with my pen. And all of a sudden, I'm aware that I'm actually writing with a feather and inkwell because I've gone back to medieval times, or I'll go back into an Egyptian pyramid or an Egyptian temple. And I have these time slips that are facilitated by Leonardo. So little did I realize at the time of this initial contact is that I was his scribe in medieval times, and he wanted to reconnect because he wanted me to continue the work that he never got to finish. So on that basis, he now literally fantastically floods me with all of these quantum equations for all different things. He kindly wrote the foreword for my book for me. He contributed largely to that book. He continues to take me under his wing and teach me not only the secrets of his paintings, but literally the secrets of reality. And all of these things are coming from, this hermetic master of old times. Now, when at the same time, I'm getting quantum equations from Tesla and Newton, and all of these things are really beginning to form this miraculous life. And what a lot of people don't realize is that the last person that Leonardo da Vinci worked with on Earth, while he was not on Earth, in relation to his science, was Nikola Tesla. So there was Nikola Tesla and now me. And there was no one in between in relation to science, in relation to invention, in relation to quantum physics. So I'm in a good group, really. And there's so much information that's been entrusted with me to share, and that's exactly what I do. Sometimes it takes a long time to process. Sometimes I had to disappear, which I did recently, in terms of a hiatus from podcasts and interviews, because I was gathering information. Now that information has been gathered, it is now time to come out again, resurface, and share that information. So that's really been what has happened over the last 12 months or so.
And that seems to be a pattern with us, where we kind of Well, with me anyway, I find that that's a pattern that I'm, and maybe I kind of think it's the same for you as well, where you're out in the public and you're sharing information that you've received, and then there'll be it's like a pattern. You're out in the world sharing the information that you've been given, and then there's more information, and then you kind of step back because the information's been given and you're processing and everything, and then you step forward again, and then you step back, and the same. It's like a continuum of that pattern. Um, so I I intuitively know that you will be um, given a lot more information as well in the future over several different periods. Um, I just I find the whole thing fascinating, and I can really feel how expanded your energy gets, and how such an important soul you are, and that part of your mission is to really share a lot of the information that you get. Um, Not sure if there's a question there, but I okay, so with da Vinci and your past life, was there um was there a lot of ET contact? And do you remember your life with him before that lifetime? Because there must have been others previous to that one.
Yes, sometimes there's snippets of others, but the main cell memory is of that life, because that really is this one is a continuation of that one. So that is the one that I always get referred back to. We spent time in the Great Pyramid. We spent time in what was known as the cave. And when we went into the cave in Italy, we went onto a Starfleet, and I remember that vividly because I was looking down at the Earth. So yes, there was a lot of star travel. There was a lot of ET contact, uh, and again, more and more is coming back to me. But I do vividly remember a lot of that lifetime and a lot of that contact. Yes.
And so how have things progressed with Sandra and you and the art and the psychic art and the I was going to use the word channeling, but like the information is the professional relationship, has that grown? Has that like is have you recognized her from past lives?
I've not recognised her from past lives, but of course we now have a mutual connection. So I see the paintings that they both draw, or he draws through her. I know for a fact that at some point he's going to come through me and take over me and speak to the world through me. So I became friends with Sandy as a result of the
Yeah.
connection that we had, because until we did that podcast together, I'd never heard of her. So I'm glad we did. And again, it was one of those things that it just had to happen. It was orchestrated to happen, because then it is kind of put me on a different path, or a better path than I was on. So, our friendship grew, and she does her art, and I work with Leonardo in relation to the science. She, by her own admission, doesn't understand the science, and Leonardo has to do things very, very simply. But I can't draw. So, we both have our different roles and our different ways in which he works with us. So yeah, but our friendship grew, and we have contacts fairly regularly. Uh, we both have private lives, but when there's something to pass, when there's something to speak about, then we speak at length about that. So yes, we do. keep in touch.
I feel like we should do an interview with Sandy again. Um, so what else have you been doing since we last spoke? I think it's been about a year. And I know that you've got a whole load of information recently, since then. But I think one of the last things I saw um, on your work was that you were I think it was Scotland, in a church. I think you went there.
Yeah, I was meant to. I was meant to go to Rosslyn Chapel. Uh, what happened was
Uh,
I,
you don't have to explain, Michael, if you don't want to.
no, that's fine. I've explained it before. But basically, we contacted Rosslyn Chapel, which obviously is the heartbeat of the Knights Templars. And I was working at the time with an events organizer, and we contacted Rosslyn Chapel, and we got permission for me to go there and conduct a group tour around the inside of Rosslyn Chapel. And everything was authorised by them, and we had that on email, and we advertised it as an event. People had booked flights from Thailand, from America, that booked hotels and all kinds of things. And about 10 days before the event date, we had an email from the director of Rosslyn Chapel saying that he'd had a Google alert and that he'd looked into the event and he was cancelling the event. So everybody had lost, some people had lost thousands of pounds as a result of this decision.
Mm.
And he basically, I proved him to be a liar in terms of what he was saying as an excuse. And I promised him that I would reveal everything that was hidden at Rosslyn Chapel by other means. So it was meant to be an event. It got cancelled. It turns out that the St. Clair family that now run Rosslyn Chapel, that was the Google alert saying, get it stopped. That's what it was.
Yes.
It's not in their business interest or their spiritual interest to have somebody, should we say, upsetting the hornet's nest.
Yes.
That they make a lot of money out of the mystery, out of not telling people the truth. So the last thing they want is somebody coming out and revealing it all. So they basically got it stopped. So that was the Rosslyn Chapel Scotland Church.
And have you managed to get the information out by other means?
Bits and bobs, yeah. As I say, it is my intention now, and it was my promise to the director of Rosslyn Chapel that I will reveal all, and I will. So I'm kind of now manoeuvring into talking quite a bit about the Knights Templars, and now is when it will come out. It would have been much easier for them to just allow me to go there, point out a few pillars, and say this is what it means.
Yeah.
But now I will reveal everything.
Well done. Well done. So a little bird tells me that you've got some um, other events coming up.
Yes, there's the potential for lots of things coming up. I'm kind of at the moment began a little bit of filming towards a film of my life story, and I went back to my whole childhood house literally just over a week ago with permission of the occupant.
Oh, you did? Wow.
Yeah,
How did that
well,
feel?
it felt strange because I said on the video that out of all of the places that I've ever lived, this childhood home is the one that I'm still deeply connected to. And I said that there's a reason I had to come back here, something to retrieve, something to collect. And I don't necessarily know what that is because it's not necessarily visible, but there's something here to collect. So what I did is I just wrote a letter to the occupants of, saying that this may seem a bit strange, but I used to live at your address from the age of 6 months to the age of 11. And I'm doing this movie of my life, and this is a significant part for me. You know, I put my telephone number and I put my email address on the letter. And to my surprise, within a day or two of me sending the letter, they'd text back saying, yes, no problem. So it was kind of permission from them to go and do what we need. So I went and filmed a little bit there just over a week ago, and I shall go back in the spring to do it properly. But yeah, there's that coming up. There's other things in the pipeline. I'm setting up what's called the Da Vinci Academy, where I will go very, very deep into Leonardo, who he is, the secrets of his paintings,
Oh, wow.
practical
That's
tests, workshops, tours, all kinds of different things. So there's a lot.
that's huge, Michael.
There's a lot of
So
potential things going on.
that's okay. But even as a potential, that's huge. I think you should definitely do that. Leonardo da Vinci Academy, that would be just led by him for
Oh,
sure.
absolutely. We obviously with his blessing, because everything I do in relation to him is with his blessing. You know, with his channeling, with his connection, with his feeding me information. So yes, he's got the go ahead from him, and it will reveal who he is. You know, we don't even have all of the images that people think are him. Not one of them are him. So it will actually put
I didn't know that.
no, well, it will put some, truth, which is really what he wants.
Yeah.
So, that will form an academy, and there'll be different courses and different things going on in relation to that to reveal.
Yeah. And so I just bear with me a second.
Right.
So welcome back, everyone. I have Michael has a lot more to share, and I do have some more questions. So to do with the nature of the universe and why we're here, what our missions are. I know you get asked those questions a lot. So I know I have my own understanding of my own mission. But over to you. I was going to ask you another question there, but I'll put that on hold for now.
Okay. Well, it's nice actually having a universal picture there, because it kind of puts people in the mood. But the amount of times that people ask me, what am I doing here? What is my purpose? How can I better fulfill my purpose? But the problem with that is they don't know what that purpose is. And if you don't know what your purpose is, it's quite difficult to fulfill that purpose. So let me start with my understanding of the universe. Okay, we have this so-called battle of dark and light, but dark and light are the same thing. And the moment that the chosen light ones and the chosen dark ones actually realize that they are the same thing, then for them, the game is over. But we have science that can't seemingly answer for us what dark energy is, the blackness of space. I have found that the blackness of space is zero electricity. And because it is zero electricity,
That is very interesting.
it is balanced. So the dark energy, the black matter of space, is balance. Now, we have a balanced system that has to create an imbalance. Now, that imbalance is electricity, which is light. So we now have balance, which is dark. We have imbalance, which is light. Now, the purpose of that imbalance is to grow and evolve and return back to balance. So we have dark, light, dark. Let there be light. On the first day, he created light. So you have an imbalance, which then creates a greater balance when you return. In the same way, we come from spirit, which is balance. We come into matter as electrical beings, which is imbalance. And we are here to evolve and to grow, so that when we return back to spirit, we are a greater spirit. So you are using the balance is using the imbalance in order to better itself. That is our purpose. And as long as we are evolving, as long as we are bettering ourselves as that individual part of the whole, then we are fulfilling our purpose. So that really is the universe. The black matter, balance, the light, imbalance, and then we go back to the darkness as a greater balance. Now, there's one body that is responsible for this electrical distribution in our region of the universe. That is the sun. So the sun is not what science tells us. The sun is an electrical heater, and it is throwing out this light, this electricity, that is creating this imbalance in our region of the universe in order so that we can grow and then return back to balance. So this is really...
Okay. Hold on, Michael. I have a question for you. So you were saying just now, and maybe I heard you wrong, but what I heard was that you were saying that the sun creates an imbalance. Why is it imbalance? Because
you have to, because we have to have a system in place to create imbalance, which is light, which is electricity. And it is that imbalance that has to be targeting into a specific region. So when you look at the sun, it deals with a DC, a direct current, but it also is responsible for monitoring the distribution of that direct current. That direct current is light, is electricity, which is imbalance. Now, it is that very imbalance that enables us to grow to become a greater balance.
imbalance, I am, or I am?
I am imbalance.
Yeah. Okay.
Because now, so it's not to say that one is negative, one is positive, because I've just said they are basically two expressions of the same thing. So there is no duality because opposites are the same. But we had to have a resistance for the spirit to grow, and that resistance is the imbalance of light.
Yeah. So I have the same view, but I have a very different language. So I would say that the dark has allowed us to rise up.
The dark is the resistance in which we can, because unless we have resistance, there is nothing in which to enhance.
Yes.
It's like now, if you decide that you want to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and you want, you go to the gym. Well, what are you doing in effect? You are using weights as a resistance to enhance your muscle base. In the same way that
It's a good example.
So the universe is using this light and electrical imbalance because of the uneven, shall we say, power demand. Electricity is an imbalanced system, but the darkness is using the imbalance of light in which to use as a resistance in order for when we return, because the blackness of space is nothingness from where we get something, and then we return back to nothing. The 0 point is another example. So this is the universe, and that's the macro. But as the micro, as I say, we come from a balanced spirit into an imbalanced matter, into an evolved greater balance once again. And we are here to develop ourselves, and that is our purpose. Because when all of the parts that have separated from the whole become enhanced and advanced, then the whole is a greater whole. And that's what the universal game is. And the dark and so-called dark and light forces that we speak, a lot of people attach to as being some kind of universal war. It's not a universal war, it's a universal necessity in which to grow.
Yeah.
Now, I also wrote in What is Time? Now, within that model that I wrote up with quantum equations, I have all the quantum equations to go with what I'm saying. I then had a quantum equation for time. What is time? Time is the resistance to resistance. In other words, it removes the resistance to electrical flow. So time is a conductance. And without that conductance, we couldn't have this universal system of balance and imbalance. So time is an intrinsic part of this universal plan.
But time is man-made.
It isn't. Our understanding of time is as per the clock that has man-made numbers. But time, when you understand what time really is, it is the conductance. It is the resistance to resistance, because mass inertia is a resistance, and you have to have a counter-acting system, which is a resistance to that resistance, which is time. And going back to the sun, how it is the distributor of that direct current to our region of the universe, the light, the electricity, when you start looking at the mathematics and the size of the sun, it relates exactly to the amount of seconds in 24 hours. So this relates to time, it relates to imbalance, it relates to electricity. So time is not man-made, it is the intrinsic fabric of the universal divine plan.
Can you get into that, Michael? Because my understanding of time is that everything is happening now, and it's just been stretched to a linear perspective or a linear um a linear time so that we can process things at a much slower pace, but everything is actually like a vortex where
Well,
everything is happening all at the same time. That at least that is my understanding. So do you have a different viewpoint? Like what is your
yeah,
understanding?
I mean, the reason that we believe time to be linear is that any force that opposes is a horizontal force. Now, a horizontal is a linear. So that is why we believe that time is linear, but it isn't. Now, when we start talking about everything is now, the only place that there is a now is at 0 point, which is
Yeah,
the darkness and nothingness.
yeah.
Because outside of 0 point, you are forever chasing the now. So there is no now, because you are always chasing it. So the only place that is a now is at 0 point. Outside of 0 point, there is no now.
Say that again, Michael. I'm a bit slow.
We have what, particularly in the fourth dimension, we have a place called zero time, when there's zero, nothing, 0 point. And this is what UFOs are doing when they're creating vortexes, portals. The center of that vortex is dimensionless, it is timeless. So the start of the journey is the same place as the end of the journey. But at 0 point, it is the blackness of nothingness. And it is at that point where everything exists now. So your past, your future, your now exist in the same place. Outside of 0 point, there is no such thing as the now, because you are forever chasing it. And if you are forever chasing the now, it is not now. So you only get now in 0 point. Now, when you look at the likes of the Great Pyramid and the ancient monuments of the world, they were built in the future, not the past.
That's interesting, Michael.
Because we are their past, and we are working our way up to their standard, which is our future.
That is actually something that the Pleiadians have said to me, is that we are them. Um,
Yes.
and they're from the future, but we are them from the past.
Yes, because if you look at the universe as being a cycle, then
Yeah,
beyond the future is the past.
yeah.
So you have the future, you have the past. You have the past, you have the future. But in a circle, which one comes first? So it was built in our future. Now, when we start looking at the ET phenomena, they are us in a different place.
Yes.
So we are looking at fragments and aspects of ourselves. And they've
Yeah.
traced the problem back to here. In the same way as you have some kind of electrical problem in your property and you call an electrician, and they through methodology will look through all the circuits and they will trace back where the problem is. And that's what these ETs, which are us, have done, because they are tracing back where is the problem, what aspect of this universal game is holding us back, and they've traced that back to us, which is a different version of them. We are them.
Yeah.
And it is a case of advancing awareness, which is part of that progress of evolution within imbalance, in order for us all to return back to a greater balance. So they've traced the problem back to us, this region of the universe, because we need to be returned back to the galactic community. Now, Leonardo da Vinci said, we are watching, we are ready to embrace enlightened souls. That's what they're doing. They're helping us to become them again.
And this is amazing, Michael. I think you're such a, like, there's a lot of people that are doing the work we are doing, but I think your information is off the scale. There's a couple of things that's coming to mind as you're speaking. One is that the Pleiadians said to me years ago that they built the pyramids with our help and that they created us in their likeness. So if the pyramids are built in the future, that kind of wobbles the whole linear time. And it actually makes sense when you look at the pyramids and the structure and the technology of the pyramids, and even just looking at them and the hieroglyphics and all of that. But that's not even to include all the stuff that's been hidden from us, the underground stuff, and there's new discoveries that have come to light recently, and there was something else I was going to share there.
Well, the Great Pyramid is a radio station, and it has an inbuilt antenna, and all the mathematics of the pyramid relates to, should we say, a purpose, because it is beaming into the cosmos, which is bouncing off the ionosphere, and it is communicating with other radio antennas, which we call the monoliths and monuments of the world, and on planets, and it's also beaming down to inner Earth. When you look at some of the recent discoveries, they are what is known to me as a mechanical stress system. And what mechanical stress does is it converts piezoelectricity into radio waves. So it is its self-contained electrical powerhouse, but it is a radio.
Recently, they've said to me that, because I've started to do a lot more channeling, and I've created the Cosmic Starseed Academy, and I have different events and groups and all of that stuff. And within that, I sit down a couple of times a week and I channel, and I've been doing that for, I think, 2 years now. And one of the things, so I've been doing a lot more channeling and therefore got a lot more information. And one of the things they've shown me recently, I say recently, I mean over the last couple of years, is that there's ley lines or energy lines that run from Egypt to all of the other underground and above, that run to all of the other sacred sites. So they're all connected underground and above. And I see it like tunnels, or not tunnels, but kind of like spirals of color. That's how I see it. I see it like spirals of color that are interwoven, a bit like DNA strands. When you see them, and they go from Egypt to all of the other sacred sites. But when I see it, I always see Egypt and the pyramids, and then Stonehenge, but all of the other sacred sites as well. And
it's radio signal, radio transmission. It's a helical radio transmission, which is what our DNA is, because our DNA is also that twisting helical antenna. So they are communicating up, through, and down as a radio signal. Now, Stonehenge is a concentric antenna, and I've personally heard it. So when you have a lot of ancient sites, they are triangulated. In other words, they're either built to a triangle or they form a triangle with other monuments. Now, the reason that they are triangulated is that this is how radio signals find antennas. Now, putting that into a third dimension, when I used to be in the police, if somebody goes missing, you are dealing with a missing person. What you then do is you triangulate their mobile phone. So we are using the same system as they did then, but actually did in the future. So they are these radio waves are triangulating and finding other antennas, which is your Stonehenges, which is your Bosnian pyramids, all of these things. If you want to understand the power of the triangle, just look at the Bermuda Triangle. But what you are seeing, this helical wave, is radio signals, and science in recent months has found plasma clouds above the Giza Plateau. Now, those plasma clouds are radio signals. Now, the good thing is, the longest these plasma clouds have ever been known to exist is 12 hours. So if modern day scientists are now finding plasma clouds above the Giza Plateau, there has been a transmission in the last 12 hours. They're still speaking.
You are just so fascinating. Have you had any direct contact with ETs? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Quite regularly. There's a number of them. You know, sometimes they come in lucid dreaming. Sometimes they're here. I know they're here because there's a certain signal that they will give. Yes, you know, the amount of sightings that I've personally had, the amount of interactions that I've personally had, absolutely.
And do you have you must have a connection to the Pleiadians?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
yes.
like, does it take you a long time to process when you have, like, when you have experiences or information given to you, when you're kind of in that energy, which is a higher frequency, when you're in that higher dimension and you're being shown and given information, does it take you a long time to process that?
It's pretty much instant.
Okay.
It's pretty much instant. I mean, sometimes I have to take a notepad to bed because I will wake up with quantum equations and different things in my head. And I like to download it from my head into paper so that I don't have to remember it or forget it. But now the information is pretty much instantaneous, and it is an instantaneous understanding. And there can be many times when I'm literally the answer will just come in terms of ancient knowledge, in terms of ancient wisdom. You know, the lost wisdom of the pharaohs will just come in an instant and it'll be processed in an instant. So no, it doesn't take long at all now. I guess just like anything else, you know, when you first pick up a guitar or first get your set of drums, you know, it sounds a bit of a mess, but eventually you become more skilled at what you do, and the chords and the notes you don't have to think about it anymore. It becomes a second nature. So it's been happening for so long, so frequently, that it just now, in an instant, it's there and it's processed and it's understood.
One of the things they said to me about the sun is that there will come a time, quote, when there will come a time when There will be two, what will appear to be two suns in the sky. Have, do you have any information about that?
Yes, because every single planet in our solar system and beyond is multi-layered. So what we look at is just one layer of what exists. When you advance yourself to the vibration of the other layers, you will begin to see things that are connected to that. So when you begin to see a second sun, it's because you are seeing a different layer of the sun. So you are beginning to raise your vibrations to a compatible level in which you can see other parts of the sun. Because our reality is an augmented reality. In other words, you have digital information, binary code, overlaid over the real world.
Yeah.
And as such, there are multiple suns in different dimensions, in different timelines.
Yeah. And I know that we've been lied to on such a mass scale, and I know that a lot of your information is revealing a lot of that, or some of that. Um, but what would you say the biggest things that we've been lied to on a mass scale?
I think the biggest thing is who we really are. Because if people were to realize who they really are.
Will you go into that, Michael?
Yeah, well, we are really what you believe the universe to be, which in my opinion is an Egyptian Gnostic Hermetic understanding that we are inside a gigantic conscious mind. And in order to connect to that conscious mind, we have to have a good understanding of salvational knowledge. And that salvational knowledge comes in many different forms, the things we're talking about tonight, sacred geometry, the secrets of nature, and so on. But we are a part of that conscious mind. So if you can think it, it can be done. If you can imagine it, it exists. So with all of this information of what you can do and what you can achieve and what you can create, because you are a smaller version of the large. Now, when you look at the human brain and we have a dream, there's a part of the brain that deals with those images of a dream, and that is called the hippocampal.
Yes.
Now, the hippocampal is known as the black hole of the brain. So when we start expanding that and looking at space, we have the black holes of the universe, which is the hippocampal of the human mind, but it is a larger version. So we are truly the creators. And because we've experienced spirit and we have also experienced physicality, we are greater than the gods we've been programmed to worship. Because the gods that we've been programmed to worship have never experienced material realm. So anything that can be done, anything that can be imagined, anything that can exist within this universal conscious mind is what we are. And when you begin to understand that, no military, no government, no courtroom, no politician, no law can ever tell you what to do, can ever dictate to you, because you stand firm in your own divinity. Now, the word divinity is twice fine, and twice fine means twice born. In other words, you are the new being. But when you become the new being, nothing will ever stop you. And that's what we truly are. We are the universe in a micro.
Is that the same thing as moving into a higher dimension?
Well, there's many different names because dimensions are really just vibrations. So the more that you develop yourself, the more that you will vibrate and the more that you will be connected and be able to interact with these other vibrational places. So yes, but it's deeper than just saying a different vibration, a different dimension. But yes, that's correct.
And speaking of missions, have you been shown your mission, or like have you seen it? Have they shown you your mission this time?
Uh, I haven't been shown the mission, but I know from feeling and the way in which my existence this time is being formed. So part of what I'm here to do, a so-called mission, is to reveal. Because again, you have various stages of existence. You are created. You then fall to earth. You then so-called word ascension, which means you're just elevating yourself. But then there's also the return, and the return is those who have been through this before, who have done through this before, who have mastered this process before, but they have volunteered to come back to help others to follow in those footsteps. And they are the return. And they are the ones who are doing these kind of interviews. So my mission, my purpose was to return and to remember. Leonardo da Vinci incarnated once. And
Only once?
the reason he only incarnated once is because he remembered too much that to forget again would have had no purpose. So he came here once. So when we begin to remember, there's no need for us to come back and forget again.
What was Leonardo an ET?
Half,
A hybrid? Okay.
half. He's now part of an advanced soul pool on the body that we believe to be the moon, which is not the moon, but he's on an advanced soul pool on the moon. But he's a hybrid, yes, or was a hybrid.
One of the things they said to me, I keep saying that, I'm sorry, but one of the things they said to me recently was, and again, when I say recently, I mean over the last couple of years, is that and it was during a channeling, so I was having an image of it as well, but I was shown the moon and I was shown underneath and I was shown tunnels. Um, I had a feeling of metal, like metal.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm not sure if the tunnels were made of metal or what they were made of, but um,
Hmm. The moon is speaking to the Great Pyramid in binary code in an augmented reality. It was put there as a way station, as a monitoring station. I have actually located the real moon, and that's not it.
oh,
But
they have.
yes, I have. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
wow. Now
but
that's interesting.
but many years ago, I saw a conic green pulsating grid coming from the moon towards Earth, and I just couldn't rest until I'd worked out what it was. So I did my own quantum equation for what it was, and it was basically what is tilting the Earth, and the reason that it's tilting the Earth is so it can create a dimensional split. So when you spoke a few moments ago about does that mean going to a higher vibration? Yes, but the body that we believe to be the moon is what's creating that dimensional split, or will create that dimensional split on Earth. So this was this kind of grid, but that moon is speaking to the Great Pyramid.
So, wow. So is um would that have caused the Earth to move off its natural axis?
Yes,
Yes.
it's the presence of that has tilted the Earth 23.5 degrees. Now, there is ancient writings that speak about a time before the moon.
Yes. And
So
and
it's the
yeah,
presence of that's tilted the Earth, yes.
yeah. And one of the Native Americans speak about that in their
Yes.
tradition where there was no moon. But what they showed me, what the Pleiadians showed me, is that, and I just wanted to run this by you, is that there was an original moon, but it was destroyed, I think, deliberately, and the moon that we have now was put into place as, like you were saying, like a satellite, and so
Well,
would you say that was accurate?
the original moon which I've located 1,250 miles north of magnetic north of Earth.
So
Is
it wasn't destroyed.
no, it is now non-luminous, which means we can't see it, but it is there.
Wow.
And the moon that we believe to be the moon. I mean, I'm not saying some of it wasn't destroyed, but I'm saying that there's a moon that's still there, which was the original moon. So what we believe to be the moon is not the moon. It was put there.
So the original moon moved?
Well, I would suggest that the presence of this one has probably moved it, but it is there. It's just that it's now non-luminous. And it is considerably smaller, which is the correct size for a natural satellite. Whereas the one that's there now is not. You know, even scientists, even people
Yes.
in a metaphysical arena have said it shouldn't be there. It's an anomaly. There's no reason for it to be there.
Yeah.
But it has a purpose.
So who put it into place? Because
I don't know.
okay. Yeah.
Even Leonardo doesn't know.
Okay.
So I don't know. But
Okay.
when you look at the way in which the universe has been constructed, when you look at the ancient monuments like the Great Pyramid and others, it is the universal mind that has put it there. So I would suggest that that's your main culprit.
And it's just fascinating, and also because the moon has such an effect on us and the tides, and especially as women, the moon has a big impact on women, and it also drives, it kind of pushes crazy people over the edge, or
Yeah,
creates a craziness.
it does.
Um,
What it does is it amplifies the state that they're at.
yeah,
So when I used to be in the police, and we were there in a big riot van on a Friday and Saturday night, and we'd look up and think, it's a full moon, we're going to be busy tonight, and it was,
yeah,
but in terms of the effect on the female, those effects still happen and would still happen without that moon there. But of course, it does have an effect on the Earth because it is a massive astral body that was put there.
yeah.
It's the same as anything else. Everything has an effect on everything else.
So does it have because it has an effect on the tides? So, did the original moon have the same effect on the tides and us, or is that more of a negative agenda where the moon has a negative effect on certain people and also with women and also the tides?
Well, what the moon does, it acts as a mirror to reflect back to you your current state. So you can look at these things as being, a bad thing, or you can look at them as a means of looking at yourself. Because if the moon's energies are affecting you in this way, then it gives you time to analyze why you are being affected, and it gives you the chance to change. Because the moon doesn't affect me in that way. If you are borderline, then it will amplify that borderline energy. But everything is a mirror to understand.
Mm.
And yes, there were tides. Even the sun creates tides. The electrical direct current of the sun will create tides. And yes, the original moon would create tides. But we can look at things as being negative. We can look at light as being the good guy and dark as being the bad guy. But they are equally essential for this plan.
Yeah,
And if they're
I
equally
yeah,
essential, you can't have one without the other.
yeah. You're absolutely right, and I realized that in during 2019, 2020, when I was shown that it was when I was shown that the negative agenda has a positive effect on us because they are allowing us not intentionally, but unintentionally, they are allowing us um, to ascend, which is what we are needing to do. Um,
which
because
is
things went wrong or something happened, and the Pleiadians have said that from the Pleiadians from the future have said that to me, that um, things went wrong, something happened, and things went wrong. So they've come back into our timeline, so to speak, and to
or a
help us
previous
correct.
timeline of this.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
yes, something did go wrong because those who were nominated for certain roles have got lost in that role, uh, and as such, the game has gone amiss. So, as I said, you have your chosen light ones, you have your chosen dark ones, but for them, the idea is to understand that they are a reflection of each other. And the moment they realise that white is black and black is white, then for them, that game is ended. But when you go to the theatre and you boo the villain and you cheer the hero, and you get so lost in the performance that you actually believe those doing the role. There's been documented stories of actors from the soaps being physically attacked in the street because
Wow,
the people who've attacked them have believed
it's
their character
crazy.
on TV. So
That's crazy, Michael.
well, it is crazy, but the whole world is crazy and humanity is crazy. But if you can't associate between Coronation Street and EastEnders and reality, then where have you been, really? But you boo the villain and you cheer the hero. But at the end of the show, when they're in the green room, there is no hero, there is no villain. And what has gone wrong is they have both got lost in their role,
Yeah,
and that's what's gone wrong. And the Palladians and others have realised that there's a problem because everything has to evolve together. And if everything doesn't evolve together, then nothing evolves. And they've traced back the problem to here. So they've come back to fragments of themselves and they have come back to put that right.
yeah, totally agree.
But they are us.
Yeah. Yeah, I find that really fascinating. There's a film that I can never remember the name of it, but there's a large spaceship that comes, and it's very narrow and long and thin, and it doesn't land, it just hovers above the earth by a couple of feet. And there's one woman in it where she keeps looping. So she goes from the past to the present to the future, and I can never remember the name of it, but uh, that sometimes, I can relate to that, and her looping and not. Um, she was in the film. She wasn't sure if she was in the past, the present, or the future because she just kept looping like a cyclical. Um, she just kept looping, and I see that as being how time, the real the real nature of time. I see it as very much being like that. Um,
Well, it's motion because everything is restless. Everything moves in this reality. So it is that motion that gives us the feeling of this linear time. But it depends from what point of view. When you've experienced the fourth dimension, and I have, and to give the listeners an understanding of what a fourth dimensional experience looks like, is you are able to see three-dimensional objects from every angle at the same time. That's what it feels like in the fourth dimension. So I could look at you and not just see your face and your shoulders, but I could also see you from the side, from behind, from the top and below at the same time. And that's what it feels like in the fourth dimension. And it's from the fourth dimension that you get the 0 point, which is everything amalgamated in the same instant.
yep, I've no arguments with that.
Yeah, I always set a threshold, which is I don't speak about anything unless I've had a direct experience of what I'm talking about. And I'm able to speak about the fourth dimension because I've experienced the fourth dimension, and that's the best way to describe it. You can see three-dimensional objects from every single angle at the exact same time.
That's quite a gifted ability to be able to do that, because you get a broader perspective, a better
Yeah,
understanding of how things really are.
yeah.
Um,
It's just widening your perception. I mean, when people see shadow people, and again, I've seen many of them in different circumstances, but they are a three-dimensional shadow. So what are they? Well, if you walk outside as a three-dimensional being on a summer's day, you will cast a two-dimensional shadow because that shadow will lose a dimension in its projection. So you as a 3D being casts a 2D shadow. So it is a fourth dimensional being that casts a three-dimensional shadow, and that is your shadow people. It is a fourth dimensional being coming through the third dimension. But we will only ever see the limit of what we can see in the third dimension. Now, when
yeah,
other people see, you see it on videos where a light will appear in the sky, and then another light will appear there, and another one will appear there, and people are saying, there's lots of craft. It's not. It's one craft, but they are just poking into the third dimension from outside the third dimension. And again, an analogy to describe that is you go swimming and you are underneath the water. Now, I lie on the side of the swimming pool and you can't see me and you can't see my arm. And I put the tips of my 5 fingers in the water. So all you can see are 5 tips of 5 fingers. But there's much more behind that. But
yeah,
all you can see is what you are able to see as a three-dimensional being.
yeah.
And that is what we're seeing with UFOs. Some of them are there, some of them are inserted into augmented reality. They're not there. And we are only seeing a slice that we can see in the third dimension when they enter the third dimension.
Yeah. My understanding, I've been shown so much since 2019. I've really kind of developed very well and learnt a lot. And I know I still got a lot to learn in my limited understanding. And the more I learn, the less I realize I know anything. But I've come to learn, I've come to know, I've come to understand that there's a large group of us, star seeds, that have come to Earth to make change, and that we are hybrids. As star seeds, we're hybrids. We're not from here, which is why our energy is different, which is why we are more aware. And we're still learning and growing. We're still getting information all the time and writing books like you. Um, so I don't know if there's a question there, but
The, there are ends to that. When you look at the lion people of Egypt, they are what is known as the Peshat. And Peshat means the past and the future. And what
oh,
you
does
have,
it?
you
I
what
didn't know that.
what you have is a group of beings that travel different timelines to affect change.
Yeah.
And that's your lion people of Egypt.
Can I just ask, Michael? I've always known them as the Lyrans. Is that the same thing, or
It's a mixture. Uh,
okay?
but I mean, the Lyrans, I certainly feel a connection to Lyra as well. Because the Lyrans also see the Pleiades, and there's different connections there. But the Lion people were a group that travel timelines and affect change.
Yeah.
And we see them depicted in ancient Egypt quite widely. So there's always been people who've incarnated here to affect change. And some of them are known, some of them are prominent figures of the past, Some of them, not so much. But there's people who have come here to effect a change and to advance humanity, because that's what needs to happen. I've worked out the Nazca lines as a star map. I've encrypted.
You have? Oh wow.
I've encrypted.
I keep interrupting. I kind of hate myself for it, but I was given information years ago when I was doing mediumship training in Edinburgh, and one of the mediumship teachers poo-pooed me. But what I was seeing was I went up in this meditation, and I was training for mediumship. This was before anything I knew anything about channeling or anything. And I went up in some type of balloon basket, and I was looking down, and I was being shown the NASCAR lines, and I was being shown how they were made, and I was seeing this large baton or type object that was a technology that had heat and fire coming from it. And they showed me, it must have been the Pleiadians, but they showed me how the Nazca lines were made. Anyway, I just wanted to add that. So please go ahead.
Now, there's multiple layers to them, which again reflects back to what I said about the balance, the imbalance, and the balance of the universe. So you have multiple layers of the Nazca lines, which basically means spirit, matter, return to spirit. But again, with Leonardo's help and influence, he basically said you need to get this equipment, and you need to do this. And when I did, I was able to equate every image of Nazca with a particular constellation. And when I followed the constellations, I realized it was a star map to the center of the galaxy. Now, that in itself is why the center of the galaxy? Well, that is the essence of creation. That is where the divine mind is. I've also retrieved, should we say, messages within the shapes of crop circles, within the sound that created them. So there's all of these messages. Now, having done that, again, let me take you back to Leonardo. All I speak of is there for you to see in ancient monuments, in the messages we send for you even now, in your fields of hay crop circles, which the people able to think will learn how to read. The Nazca lines, which can be read once you learn how to read them. Many layers exist in them. Soon, man will be able to read and understand, as there are those channeling information from us to help you move forward. That's my mission, that's my purpose.
Yes.
Because I understand these things. And it is the likes of me that will be revealing and sharing those things.
That's amazing, Michael. It's so beautiful. Do you think that there are a lot of underground things or caves or tunnels or caverns or sacred sites underneath the not just the Nazca lines, but I'm beginning to think everything, all of the sacred sites. It's the yeah.
There is. They're finding underground cities under the Giza Plateau. Yes, there is. That's why the pyramid also transmits downwards, because there's things there. So again, I've looked at mainstream news recently, and there's a lot of scientists now inside the likes of the Great Pyramid who are finding on their radar scans what they are calling cavities. Now, when they walk up to these cavities, there is a wall blocking them, and they're failing to
physical wall, an energetic wall.
No, a physical brick wall, and
okay,
they're struggling to understand what they're seeing if there's a wall. But what they don't realise is that's not a wall; it's a door. And when you use the correct word, set at the correct frequency, that door opens. Now, inside these rooms, these cavities are actually historical rooms, like libraries. And in one particular room, there is one that talks about the 7 exits and entrance points into inner earth. And this is on metal that is not from here, in a language that is not from here. And this is stored in just one of many of these rooms. So there is inner earth existence.
Yeah, one of the things I was shown since I was a child was um, by the Pleiadians, specifically Ashtar, um, was beneath the Sphinx. Um, and as you look head on, I still remember it, still remember that being told so clearly, but as you look head on, the right paw got steps going down underneath. And I've been shown some of the um, vastness of what's underground within Egypt, and it is vast.
Yeah.
I know that Sarah Parcak was doing satellite imagery proof as a scientist. But have you, and that was quite a few years ago. I think I discovered her in 2019 or 20, was it? No, sorry, forgive me. 2009, I think I discovered her, or 2010, when I began to channel consciously the Pleiadians and then began to have memories of having connected to them as a child. And some of the memories came back. But have you connected with Trevor Grassi recently?
No, I haven't.
You have to connect with him, Michael.
Oh
He's
well.
amazing.
I mean,
Because he's the guy that found the, I believe he's the guy that found the recent discovery or was very much part
yes.
of that.
I know he wants to speak to me to explain what they found. So I haven't met him yet, but at some point I will, because he's part of the teams that's doing it.
Yeah.
He wants me to explain what they're finding. But when you
I'm just going to pause there for a second. Forgive me, everyone. I just had to pause the recording there. So, Michael, please continue.
No, the reason I've got this transcript out again is because you mentioned the right hand side of the Sphinx. Now, 10 days before I went on vacation to Egypt, which I realised wasn't a vacation, I had a strange email just sent to me from somebody I didn't know, somebody I'd never met. And she turned out to be a psychic medium from Scotland. Now, this is the message that she sent to me.
Can I ask her name, Michael?
Yeah, it was Ellie Morrish, I think it was, something like that.
Okay.
But she said, regarding your trip to Egypt, you need to look past the tourism, learn about her, understand her, and then teach about her. A messenger will find you. You will help uncover more insights and translate ancient knowledge brought to us from great distance. Under the Sphinx lies an ancient secret knowledge that will be added to your toolbox. Use this wisely for the benefit of all meaning past, present, and future. It all belongs together in the same place, fourth dimension. You must absorb, accept, understand, and finally know. Only then can you share and teach. She also told me to stand as close to the right-hand side of the Sphinx as was possible. So this, what she was referring to, was the lost wisdom of the pharaohs. And that is also a part of our mission to reveal that as well.
Fascinating. I find our history, like the real, true history of our planet and ourselves, fascinating, which includes Tartaria and all the discoveries that we haven't yet rediscovered because they've been known about, but they've been covered over and hidden. Um,
But those discoveries will be in our future because that's when they were built.
I,
So we are catching up
yeah,
with that.
yeah. It's it's kind of excuse my language, but it's kind of a mind fuck, isn't it?
It can be, but
Yeah.
I do like to say that complexity, simplicity, misunderstood. So we make things complicated when really it is simple, and it is a reflection of the nature of reality. Everything is really a reflection of that, and all of these beautiful churches and cathedrals are made to the canon proportions, the mathematics of the human body, which was seen as a textbook. And in order to understand the greater universe and greater nature, you first of all have to read that textbook, which is the body. And when you understand the body, you're then able to understand these greater things. And this is why you have statues in churches and different things, because the human body was a textbook.
And I've also been shown that all of the churches were built on earlier sites, and a lot of them contain underground areas. I've been aware of or lived by two of them. One was in Kalala. I think it was Kalala in Mayo. Whenever I was there, I was seeing, and I was just around the corner from it. But there was a lot of underground stuff there, and I think it was Kalala. Yeah, it was Kalala in Mayo. And then there's another one that I found recently, Michael, which you would find fascinating. It's Blarney Castle in Cork, which is a tourist area. However, it is also, it's like stepping into a higher dimension. It's very sacred, ancient land. And it has a stone circle there called the Seven Sisters, which is ancient, which is, of course, connected to the Pleiadians. There's a lot of mythology to do with the land. Um, and I'm going to be planning an event there. But you should definitely look into it.
No, I've
It's
heard of it.
Blarney Castle.
Yeah, I mean, my
Yeah,
ancestors are Irish. I'm
I
not,
thought so.
but my ancestors are. I traced my ancestors back through Irish kings into Scotia of Egypt, who's Meritamon. And Meritamon is the sister of Tutankhamun, the daughter of Nefertiti and Akhenaten, and that's my bloodline. So my
Wow.
bloodline goes through Irish.
Slow down, Michael. Say that again.
So
What?
my bloodline goes through Irish kings back to Egyptian pharaohs. So that's my pharaonic bloodline.
Wow.
It incorporates Ireland because it's Irish kings. So that's kind of my bloodline. So these things do resonate. Uh,
And it must include Scotland then.
it does. Scotia is where the word Scotland.
Yeah.
It's the British Isles. The British Isles are the true Holy Lands, not Jerusalem. Uh,
I've
it's
heard that before. Yeah.
it's the British Isles which is the true Holy Lands. So yeah, Scotland as well. Scotland is a holy place, which is where the original Palestine is. So we have all of this history that's completely wrong. Uh, the I always say the ancients, but it's not the ancients. But I always use it for understanding. But they knew things that we don't know now. For argument's sake, you look at Orion's belt and you see the three main pyramids of the Giza Plateau, which we are told is aligned to Orion. When it's aligned to planets, it's for radio intergalactic communication. But what people don't know is that there's not three stars of Orion's belt, there's four.
Oh, I didn't know that.
We in modern astronomy in 2020, so only 6 years ago, they found what they have called the fourth green star. That is the fourth star of Orion's belt. Now, there's cave paintings, probably 20,000 years old, in which they put four stars on Orion's belt. When you look at a radar scan of Avebury, Stonehenge, they've put the fourth star of Orion's belt. You will notice on the Giza Plateau that they've also measured out a fourth star of Orion's belt. So Orion's belt doesn't have three stars, it has four. And the ancient people knew.
Wow. So can I just ask you, Michael? What, so I'm thinking that with the ETs and the Pleiadians and the Lyrans and all of them being time travelers and going back in their time to to building the pyramids and probably all of the sacred structures and everything. That I just find that so fascinating.
Yeah, because they can jump between what we believe to be these different things. When you see a UFO move at 90-degree angles, you actually jump from dimension to dimension at 90-degree angles.
Yeah.
So that is why they're jumping between dimensions. They're interdimensional travelers, and as such, they are able to do that. But then again, as I said previously, so can I. I'm able to do that, and there's many people who are listening who are able to do that. So, it is a possible thing to do. And as such, when you're coming from that fourth dimension, 0 point, everywhere is in the same place. Every time is in the same moment. And there is no distance, because the start of the journey is in the exact same place as the end of the journey. So you don't need light years to get to Sirius or light years to get to Orion, because in between the time and space continuum, there are portals which give
Yes.
instantaneous travel.
Yeah. Someone showed me that in a very simple way years ago, where they folded a piece of paper.
Yes. Yes. If you fold a piece of paper, I haven't got one here, unfortunately, but you have flat, which is a flat curve. You then have a positive curve, which is a sphere. You then have a negative curve, which you roll up a piece of paper into a portal. So within every sphere, there is a portal, because there is a negative curve. And I've found, again with quantum physics, that there's a portal through the center of Earth going from the Great Pyramid through and out of the South Pole. So you have portals within the spherical shape.
We have to do these more. We have to do some more soon.
Anytime you wish.
Thank you. I don't want to take up too much of your time, because it's getting on now to 11:15. But thank you so much. And what services do you offer, and how can people reach you? And do you have any events coming up? What's coming up for you?
Yeah, well, I'm doing lots of webinars at the moment, for myself and for other people. But what's coming up, of course, is the Da Vinci Academy. The best place to find updates is on the website, which is michael-feeley.com. You can follow me on Facebook. They can just type my name into Google, and there'll be lots of interviews that will come up. So there's the Da Vinci Academy. There's lots of webinars. There's probably going to be tours at some point. There's going to be more information come through that's never been spoken before. Because I always like to occupy my own space. And it is a space to be created for other people to move into. So there'll be lots of things coming up in terms of, potentially going to Milan and filming at the Last Supper, painting, going to Paris and filming at the Mona Lisa, and actually revealing once and for all what these things mean. Because, as I say, we don't even have an image of Leonardo. All of the images are not in. All the information. Now, I once showed him a scene from the Da Vinci Code movie, and he just shook his head. It's not right. So there's the things that are being said are not true, and that will be put right.
And have you seen what he looks like?
Yes.
Wow. So if people want to do your events, how do they find out about them if you haven't yet, like the ones coming up that are still in process? Do people just need to keep checking your website?
Yeah, if they if they can get to the website, or they can follow me on Facebook. If they just type in Facebook and put my name, then they should be able to find my Facebook account. My website will have updates. The Facebook will have updates. All of these things will have updates for what's coming up. I tend to use Facebook first over everything for some reason, but that's the place to find out. So soon, when I have a link and when I have something designed specifically for the academy, then I'll announce that, and people, if they want to, can sign up for it. But that's a working process. I've already set the modules for the workshop and for the course, but of course it will be presentations, tours, courses, workshops, interaction, all of these different things, and then all of the webinars and things that I'm doing will just enhance in terms of new information that comes to light and new knowledge. And then it's just a case of, I want to get back out there again now. After a time of not losing interest, but realizing that I had to focus elsewhere and learn before coming back out and sharing. So
Yeah.
that period has passed, and I'm now back out sharing.
Do you offer any type of services?
Yeah, I mean, I do one-on-one chats. I'll happily do events if people have groups that they want me to speak at. I will do that. I'll happily also do that on Zoom as a webinar. I've just agreed to do that for a group where I'll present to their group via Zoom. So it's really, one-on-ones, books. There's 3 articles on there. There's 3 videos on there. There's these webinars. If people just want to get in touch with me, because my email address is on the website, on the contact, if they want me to speak at their event, whether in person or over the internet, then that can be arranged as well. So everything that you would expect is on there on offer.
That is great, Michael. Thank you so much. And do you have a parting message for people listening now that are, I guess, like normal people that are struggling, or even, the rest of us?
What I always say is, as long as you are making efforts to better yourself, improve yourself, to understand things better, you are fulfilling your role. You are fulfilling your purpose. You are assisting the universe in its plan to evolve. So just by knowing more, doing more, mastering yourself better, you are assisting the whole with its plan. I also say that everything that I've ever come across, every single civilization, every single mystical book, every single religious book, especially the Bible, relates purely to you. And all of these things that we believe to be historical events are not. They are atomical processes for you to ascend. It is also true to say that one does not find the stone, one becomes it. And what they mean by the stone is your body becomes the philosopher's stone, which is the Holy Grail. That is the true Holy Grail, and that is you. So when you begin to invest in your own progress, that is the quest for the Grail. And when you find that Grail, you become that philosopher's stone. You have rebirthed yourself, you have reinvented yourself. That is the Holy Grail. And you can evoke cosmic wisdom, cosmic energy, through the chalice of the hands, or through the body, which is the cup of blood. You, and every single one of us watching is the Holy Grail.
Wow. And how many books do you have now? And are they all on Amazon?
Well, yeah, pretty much. There's some of them that I wrote probably 2009, 2010, which are no longer in existence. But probably about 10 physical books and lots of ebooks. But this is the latest one, which is called The Movement, Illumination of the World, and it's Leonardo da Vinci that wrote the foreword and did loads of contributions. So that's the latest one. I've got notepads that are stacked up like the Leaning Tower of Pizza, which I've got to transfer onto the computer to do another book. But everything is on Amazon. It's all on the website as well.
Wow. Thank you so much, Michael. I guess we should call it an evening for now, and I very much look forward to doing more of these with you, and yeah, and you sharing more information. And lots of love, and I shall see you soon.
Thank you. You take care anytime you wish.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.